All right, the Eric Valentine drum bus technique. I love this for making drums pop, but also blend in to a mix. We're going to demo this on a distressor emulation today, but you could most likely dial in similar settings on a lot of other compressors. I'll go through the settings one by one and tell you what each is doing. And I've also linked the original video where Eric went over this technique, as well as many other drum mixing techniques, down in the description. Let's take a listen to what we're working on. So we've got a classic rock mix here, but you can hear how the drums just don't match the vibe of the guitars. The guitars are big and fat, and you can hear the drums in the mix, but they're just not exciting enough. So here's what we're gonna do. We'll dial in our settings here. Number one, we want the slowest attack time. That's going to manufacture the punch in the sound. And then we want the fastest release time. That's going to bring up a lot of sustain in the sound, but we can also time this to the tempo of our song by slowing it down a little bit later. And then we want a 20-to-1 ratio, which is really going to exaggerate the effect. And then another big unlock here is the high pass sidechain filter. That's going to make sure we're not annihilating the kick drum. Technically, Eric Valentine says put in the peak filter too. That might focus even further on the snare drum. He's also going to recommend the link button and one of the distortion modes. All right, now let's take a listen and dial in some gain reduction. Already a lot more pop and a lot more sustain. A little loose without. A little bit more exciting with. Now we can retime the release. Slow it down to the tempo. If you go too far, too slow here, you just hear the attack and no sustain. More sustain at that faster setting. No compression. Boring. Much more exciting. Maybe a dB or two louder. This is a little tricky with this plugin. I love how it brings out the attack and the transient nature of the drum to make it more in your face, but at the same time bringing up the sustain blends it into the track a little bit more. Without the compression, the drums feel like they're just in a totally different recording. Why aren't they fat enough? Ah, there's the fatness. Now, the distortion modes here. Listen to distortion 3. Woo! A little bit too gooey there, but a really cool effect. More clean on distortion 2. And then really clean without, obviously. These settings usually work for me on rock drums, but always remember that you can speed up the attack time to smooth out the front of the sound. You could slow down the release to make it even more punchy and muted. You can try different ratios to loosen up on the exaggeration, and even blend it in parallel if you've got the FG stress here. There's always more options, so stay curious. Happy drum compressing, and thanks for watching Roy Thompson Audio.